Okay, this evening what we'd like to go over is naming chemical compounds. So this is in, I believe, chapter 5 of your textbook on naming chemical compounds, and I've shared through the Blackboard this handout that's titled Naming Chemical Compounds and has some guidelines for the various types or groups of compounds. So I'd like to show you some examples. Okay, so let's start with type 1 binary. Type 1 binary compounds are those compounds that are made using a metal, which, remember, are typically cations. Those are positively charged ions. So a metal bonded with a non-metal. Okay. And non-metals are anions, ions with a negative charge. Okay, so a type 1 binary, we're looking for a metal element with a non-metal element, a cation with an anion, and the key to this is that the metal, its ion, its cation, has only one charge all of the time. Okay, all of the time. So it is not a transitional metal. It is not one of those metals that has cations of various charges. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say we have the formula NaCl. We're all familiar with table salt, but why is it called sodium chloride? Okay, so when we are naming these compounds that are made with a metal and a non-metal formation from two ions, cation and anion, we take the metal's name, the element's name, sodium. We don't change it. We don't add any prefixes or suffixes. We leave it as is, sodium. And then we take the non-metal involved, here chlorine, and we alter the last syllable of its name. We change "ene" to "ide", to the IDE ending. So we call this compound sodium chloride. The chlorine becomes chloride. We change the INE, the last syllable, to IDE, sodium chloride. Okay? Let's try another one. Let's say we have Ba for barium, and we have nitrogen. So here is its formula, Ba3N2. Okay. The metal's name, barium. The anion's name, it comes from the element nitrogen. We change the last syllable. Nitrogen becomes nitride. We add the IDE. So we have barium nitride. Notice that we do not add any prefixes such as di or tri or tetra. There are no numerical prefixes added to these type 1 binary compounds that are made of a metal and a non-metal, a cation with only one particular charge all of the time, and an anion. Okay? There are no numerical prefixes added to this, like we would see with carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Okay? Now, let's try to go from the formula back, or from the name back to the formula. Let's try some of those. So, let's say we have the name lithium oxide. This is the name of our compound. and we want to take the name and we want to create the formula that corresponds to this. Okay? The first thing we want to do is identify the two elements involved. Lithium, which is Li, and oxide is coming from oxygen. So there are two elements involved, Li and O, but now these are ions that are coming together. And when ions, the positive cation and the negative anion, when those come together, their charges must balance out so that the compound has a net charge of 0. So how do we determine the formula? We go and we get the charges of each one of these ions. The lithium ion has a +1 charge. The oxide ion has a -2 charge. So we have a +1 and a -2. Now, these two ions are going to come together in a specific ratio so that together there's a net charge of 0, that it will be charge neutral. So the easy way of determining that ratio is taking the charges and crossing them over so that we get the appropriate ratio. So we need lithium, we need 2 of those, and 1 of the oxide ions. See how we crossed the 2 over, the 1 over? Because that would tell us that if we have 2 lithium ions, +1 and +1, it's the representative charge of each ion there, and the single oxide with a -2, we know then that 1 + 1 - 2 is equal to 0. Charge neutral. Okay? Charge neutral. Okay? Let's try another one. Let's say we have the compound aluminum fluoride. Okay? Aluminum fluoride. First thing, identify the two elements, aluminum and fluorine. Those are the two elements involved in our compound. Now, let's get their representative ion charge. Aluminum is the metal. It's a cation with a